I have spent so much of my life giving a fuck about what other people think of me. If I'm being honest, I think my fear of being cringe is less so about actually being cringe and more so about being seen and perceived. And that has been a part of my life and my identity for as long as I can remember, honestly. Our brains are perpetual prediction engines whose entire job is to keep you safe, physically and emotionally. It sees the patterns in behavior and makes real-time assessments to determine desirable outcomes while avoiding the not-so-desirable ones. And my brain was able to compartmentalize a part of me that really wanted to try out of the ordinary shit into that could never be me, for the good and bad of whatever the hell that means. And because of that, I stopped letting myself dream. I refused to take chances on myself because I knew that the possibility of being exposed so openly could be mortifying. I found myself sacrificing my potentiality as an effort to protect my peace, or really just the bubble that I'm comfortable living in. Lately, I have been so caught up in understanding why this even exists inside of me, why I feel so strongly about this fear of perception and this fear of judgment. And if I really try to get to the root of it, it comes down to the fact that when I was younger, I internalized a lot of things. When we're younger, being different is kind of viewed as like a flaw. I felt the need to conform because I thought it was the safe option. And because I've internalized that when I was younger, I have held on to it. It felt like a weight, it felt like an anchor that I constantly carried with me. Even as I physically and mentally and emotionally grew up, I just always had that sense of like, I can't let myself be judged. I can't let myself be too different. And now as an adult, it feels like a hindrance. So this need to fit in, this need to be socially acceptable, it really has played such a huge role in my life. And I think it's okay now for me looking back to admit that. I remember when I first had the idea of getting onto YouTube. I was 13 and aspired to be like the beauty gurus, and I would practice talking to the camera. But I'd hide this silly little habit of mine from my family and from my friends because it just wasn't the norm those days. Even now, a decade and a half later, what I do is so different from the vast majority of people, even the ones that are in my life. And even though I know not one, and even if I was, I shouldn't catch myself cringing at the thought of it. But whenever someone even utters the word influencer, I can feel myself physically recoiling into my body. I wonder what part of me has internalized the stigma of that word so innately that it causes such a visceral reaction. And why? For so long, that feeling has anchored me into complacency, into not actively pursuing the things I want to do because I'm terrified of what it looks like from the outside. Because when you live with the fear of being perceived, for being seen in actuality and not within the narrative that you craft for yourself, it leaves you susceptible to judgment, to doubt, to being acutely aware that everyone can see you without a mask on. For the past few years, it's felt like I've struggled a lot with cognitive dissonance, and I'm tired of feeling detached from the person I want to be because I'm stuck in the ways of the person I am. Because right now, it feels like I live in this cyclical nature of wanting, resisting, and then regretting. And it always ends in me asking myself, why didn't I try? I feel like so much of my life has been predicated on the idea of not being too different from other people, not attracting too much attention from other people. And I feel like because of that, I wasn't an active participant in my own life. And the opportunities that I could have had to grow and to challenge myself, I let that slip by because I was too scared to deviate from the status quo. And I think that for me, when I get older, I don't want to look back at my life and think, I should have done it. I could have done it. You know, like I just want to be able to look back and be proud of how much I've done and how far I've come and how many challenges I've succeeded in. So I think that for me, this fear of judgment, it's been so lifelong and it's been so ingrained in me. It's gonna take such a long time for me to unlearn this fear of judgment and this fear of perception that I have. But if I don't start today, then how much more time am I gonna waste watching my life slip me by? And when I think about how I didn't start vlogging or YouTubing when I was in college because I was scared of the perception of other people that I externally knew, but not really, I think about how right now in this present moment, I rarely talk to people from college. I'm friends with my close friends, but everyone that kind of knew me by extension, I don't know what they're doing. They don't know what I'm doing. And to think of the fact that I held so much weight on their opinions and they're not even in my life presently today, it makes me sad. So yeah, this is just me wanting better for myself. And I think that if I have to do exposure therapy to finally see results in myself and in my own growth, then I'll do it. The more I became aware of this resistance, the more I sought out to understand it. By now, you've probably seen or heard that saying, don't kill the part of you that is cringe, kill the part that cringes. And maybe this is less about exuding tube girl confidence and more about meaning it when I say, I don't care what people think. I've realized that this fear of being perceived is rooted in judgment because I was constantly judging myself. But I think the only real way to see change in your life is to embody change within yourself first. It's a work in progress to learn how to quiet the inner critic in your mind, especially when it's been the narrator all along. But if the end goal is to live a life that I have willfully chosen, a life where I'm kinder to myself and more courageous, then I have a feeling that the future version of me will be thankful that I started today.